Mr Speaker.
I call Fletcher Tabuto.
Thank you, sir. I stand in support of this bill, firstly because it's a form of flattery for New Zealand First policy. It represents policy we have stood for 22 years. It represents policy that is common sense, but unfortunately it only goes part way. The frustration standing here tonight, listening to the debate from the other side of the House, is just beyond measure, sir. It is so frustrating to hear those MPs describe this debate as having anything to do with race or ethnicity. There is no mention of race or ethnicity in this bill. No, there is not. And so, sir, the conversation is about foreigners buying land. Now, let's be clear about what we mean when we say a foreigner as well. Because if a New Zealander, sir, whether they be born overseas or like the speaker before who's been here for 70 years from Korea and proud of it, then that is a New Zealander buying a home or buying a piece of farmland in this country. That is a New Zealander and that is a Kiwi. And that is not the conversation here tonight. We are talking about foreigners coming in and buying New Zealand land. Mr Bakshi spoke about foreign direct investment contributing to the New Zealand economy. The return on foreign direct investment payments going overseas totals billions upon billions of dollars. That's money leaving our shores, sirs, because foreigners are coming in and investing in New Zealand. So that's my next point. National doesn't know what investment is. They don't understand, or I challenge them to give me a definition that is meaningful. Because, sir, a foreigner coming in and buying a New Zealand farm, processing that material in New Zealand, usually with foreign labour, selling the proceeds of that labour and those resources overseas back home, and then taking the profits back home, sir, is not an investment for New Zealanders. That adds nothing to this economy. Mr Bennett, when the rest of Waikato has been bought up by Americans, Canadians, Chinese, it doesn't matter where they're from. You probably won't have yours because you would have sold.
The member has the floor. He should be allowed to speak.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The reality is that type of investment would contribute nothing to the Waikato economy. And for Mr Bennett to yell abuse at the sponsor of this bill is an insult to his constituents, who know full well, as farmers who I spoke to when I was there in Hamilton, I spoke to your constituents and they didn't want to sell their farms to overseas owners or investors. What the problem was for them was that they're about to see, and it's been spoken about already, sir, their property values decline. But nothing that this government will do will counter that. Property values will drop. And unlike in the past when New Zealanders were buying off New Zealanders, whether the market was good or bad, the reality is now foreigners can come in and take advantage of these bad economic conditions, particularly in our dairy industry, for example. They can, sir, come in and take advantage of these terrible, terrible circumstances that our farmers are experiencing, and they can do it, which has been said, with the cost of money being next to 0 or maybe even 1%. We can't compete with that, and sir, we actually shouldn't have to compete with that. New Zealand First is flattered that this bill has been put in front of the House. It reflects policy that we have held for years. What I wanted to say, though, just to add to the conversation at the end, sir, is the Overseas Investment Office has not declined a single application. The criteria was supposed to be set at a high standard, sir, and they're just not doing their job, it would seem. We're here to limit the sale of rural land to foreigners, not New Zealanders, wherever they may have come from, foreigners. And sir, this bill is worthy of debate, it is worthy of moving forward and being taken to Select Committee, so New Zealand First will support this bill tonight. Thank you, sir.